Hey friends, welcome back. Now, a few episodes ago, we asked you, after Holly had encountered a rattlesnake, what were your craziest pets that you've had or might imagine having? I want to say thank you for your answers. We heard from Ava, who said she'd like to have a doggy and a duck and a rabbit and a bearded dragon and a lizard. So basically, I think she wants to own a zoo, which I think is a wonderful idea. Thank you, Ava. And thank you to Stephen, who said he wouldn't mind having a pet chimpanzee. And if you know Stephen, you can probably picture him in his pickup truck with a chimpanzee hanging out the passenger side of his ride. So I say, Stephen, follow your dreams, and thank you for your answer as well. Now, why am I going on about animals here?
Well, in this episode, we hit a major milestone. We hit the Pacific coast and the very scenic Highway number 1, where we see some very unique animals.
Stick around. The animals and us will see you down by the bay.
We left Sequoia National Park and headed into the valley once again. This again was really twisty roads out of the park and just still again really scenic. We made it into the valley, which is pretty flat, lots of farming, tons of fruit trees, very industrial kind of scale farming there. It was neat to see. And then we landed on the Pacific coast.
And this was our first glance of the Pacific Ocean and the beach here at Morro Bay with the big rock in the background. Also, our first chance to see some sea otters in the wild. Now, Holly's been a fan of sea otters for years now. If you catch her in her office on a break, she's probably watching some video of sea otters at the Vancouver Aquarium. I understand the appeal now. I could sit and watch these guys for ages as well. They were just so fun, always on the go, so playful. So we sat at the bay and watched them for a while, as well as getting our first glimpse of some sea lions as well.
We headed north on the coast and we stopped at a major tourist attraction, Hearst Castle. This was owned and built by William Randolph Hearst with the help of his architect, famous California architect, Julia Morgan. William Hearst was a publishing tycoon and he really was a big collector, built up this castle through the 1920s and 40s.
Now, I knew it was going to be a big deal when the shuttle bus narration recording came on, and it was the voice of Alex Trebek. We got up there and saw the imported ceilings from Italy and Spain, the artwork, the giant swimming pools, both indoors and out. Now, we talk about how I practice self-restraint. I think Holly really did a great job that day because it was warm and she loves to swim, but you resisted jumping in either of the famous swimming pools at the Hearst Castle. So well done to you on that one.
Just north of Hearst Castle, there's some opportunities and some viewpoints on the coast where you can see elephant seals. This is really cool. They were really neat, large seals, very entertaining. There's different reasons why they come up onto the coast. It could be mating season, molting. And so when we were there, it was kind of the males that were mostly molting. There was some females there, of course, too, but their season was a little bit earlier. So very interesting. Here's a little montage of the seals.
After this, we rolled on up again on the number 1 to Plaskett Creek State Park, and this was about as far north as we could get because have been some major landslides on the number 1, some major road maintenance that's been going on for months, and it's closed. You can't get all the way through there, so we would have to double back in a couple of days to get by. But Plaskett Creek was a great little stop. We enjoyed some sunsets, some walks on the beach, which sounds like a dating profile, but it's what we did. Now, in the meantime, once the fog lifted, let's combine two of my favorite things, a montage and a scenic drive. Here's a little bit of Highway number 1 and the beaches along the way.
We had to travel back south to get around the landslide and kind of around and over again to the coast on the other side of the landslide. So here we made it to Monterey. And in Monterey, we actually found a really cute little municipal campground right in town at the top of this hill. And it was really good warden or
Steward or
camp steward that was running the place. He was really friendly. He gave us tons of suggestions to do in and around town, and actually recommended that we walk into town and get an Uber back just because parking is difficult. And he said it'd be a really nice walk, which it was. So we listened to his advice and walked into town and off to the world famous aquarium.
Yeah, that was really the highlight there. We did have a great dinner after that as well, made quite a day of it. But here are a few shots of some of the exhibits there. It was pretty crowded, pretty busy with families, but also kind of fun to see how excited everybody was to see some of the sea animals and fish there. The highlight for us was, again, the sea otters, and we made it to their 2 o'clock or 2:30 feeding time. We made sure we got front row seats for that and got to watch them have some snacks and learned a bit more about them.
Next up, we drove north again towards Santa Cruz. We're actually staying a little outside of Santa Cruz. We had found a hip camp in the little kind of town of Felton. What was kind of cool about Felton is they had this little old train station, and you could actually take a train right into Santa Cruz. This was kind of a slow day, but a really enjoyable, interesting day. And you actually took the train through some redwoods. It was very scenic. It was really neat.
And you took it right into the downtown strip along the beach, which was kind of crazy. The traffic is expected to pull over for the train. Everybody waves at the train. It was quite the experience, and it pulled us right down into the boardwalk. And so we spent some time there. We were down there from about 11 o'clock till about 4 o'clock. Had a chance to ride the 100-year-old wooden roller coaster, which was actually quite a thrill. That was the highlight of the day for me, as well as the train ride was just kind of neat. So a fun touristy day spent down in Santa Cruz without the headache of having to figure out your parking, and a chance to take a train ride right down into downtown. So we've covered a number of stops in this episode. The big highlight hitting the coast. What were your favorite things about getting to this point?
I think for me, I was surprised at how much the coast is accessible to tourists and to the public in general. A lot of the coast is owned by the state or national forest, tons of coastal access, really well signed where you'll see coastal access here, really tons of beaches, tons of availability kind of for the public. And of course, the sea otters. I love seeing the sea otters.
You won me over. I understand your obsession with sea otters now. They are amazing, and that was really fun seeing them both at the aquarium and in the bay. And the other highlight for me was the temperatures. After Death Valley, we got some relief in Sequoia up at a height, and now we got some relief along the coast as well. And it was just really neat to see the ocean after, a number of weeks in Arizona and Moab and places like that. To see that expanse of water was very different. A couple of very quick statistics for you this episode. Female elephant seals can weigh up to 1,600 pounds. Males can weigh up to 5,000 pounds. So Ava, when you open your zoo, you just might want to consider how much might they eat and how big are these creatures. Maybe you don't want elephant seals in the zoo, but maybe you do. Don't let me tell you what to do. Another statistic for you, self-control, that's usually me, but in this case, chalk one up for Holly. She did not jump into those magnificent refreshing looking pools at the Hearst Castle. Again, well done to you.
We've had a great time on the coast, but it's time to see more of California and head inland. Where to next?
Next up, and I'm surprised we're getting there at all because we thought it was a write-off because it's so popular and we had trouble booking it. We're off to Yosemite. Holly managed to score us a couple of campsites there. We've got some amazing hikes. I think it's the highest waterfall in North America, at least. Some beautiful scenery here. You're going to love it. Join us at Yosemite next episode.